Hey, it's Travel Gigolo, and here's a quick review of camping at the Waterberg Wilderness Reserve. The reserve is located about 250 kilometers by road from Johannesburg north into Limpopo, quite close to the town of Mokopane. The last 10 kilometers is dirt road from the gate off the main road all the way through a set of farms to the actual site itself. Some of that dirt road is quite stony and uneven, so you do need a vehicle with reasonable clearance to be able to go over it comfortably.
So this is semi-off-grid camping. That is to say there is no electricity. However, there is water, there's a great bathroom, and there are facilities for braaiing as well as a nice concrete surface where you can prepare your stuff. There's a bathroom on each of the sites, and the bathroom has a nice shower with hot and cold water, basin hot and cold water, as well as a toilet. The hot water comes from a gas-fired system. There's a permanent shelter in place over here, which is just over the food prep area. That's really nice to have. It's a couple of wooden poles with some corrugated roof over it. I think that's really great for a couple of reasons. One is if you have a thunderstorm, which is not uncommon, especially in the summer or summer afternoons in this sort of tropical environment, then you want to have that bit of shelter. That's really great. Also, in the middle of the day, in the heat of the day, when you're not driving around, you want to sit, prepare your food, and maybe just have some lunch or have a cup of tea, whatever the case is, and that's a really nice spot to get some shade. It's really convenient that there is a concrete work surface that's set out. You can store stuff on there, you can do your food prep on there, so that's really nice to have, especially when you're packing or unpacking the car or the tent or whatever the case is. You can go and chuck stuff on top of there and go about your business. There's a braai place that's set up. We've used that braai place for our gas-fired stove just because that's convenient, and we like to bring with us a smaller braai that's maybe a bit more efficient and easier to move around, and it's also nice to sit around the braai. So of course you could probably, if you really tried, use the steel fire pit for your braaiing as well, but for us it's just a bit easier to have our own little braai to have on the side and then enjoy the fire from the fire pit. The nice thing about the fire pits is that they're made of steel, so you can drag them around the campsites to different places. So it depends where you put up your tent and where you want to sit and put your chairs and so on, and so that's really nice. In addition to that, you will find that there's a dustbin with lockable lids, and the good thing about that there is that they're semi-monkey proof. We've had no issues here with monkeys or baboons both the times that we've camped at these sites, so that's actually really nice too. So quite a bit of effort and thought has gone into the way that the campsites are set up. So the position, for example, of the food prep and braai area in comparison to the bathroom and where you would put up your tent, so that's really nice. In addition to that, they've put quite a bit of effort into flattening the areas where you could put your tent or park your car and put up a rooftop tent and so on. We are in the Waterberg Mountains, so this is quite a mountainous area, and the campsites are generally quite significant slopes on them, and you typically don't want to have to sleep in a tent when you're on a significant slope. But they put a lot of effort into just plateauing and compacting these areas where you can go and set yourself up. The area is quite rocky, so the ground is quite stony. However, surprisingly, it was quite easy to get the tent pegs in, and you might say that was maybe just luck of putting the tent pegs in the right place, but I put in 4 tent pegs as well as 4 pegs to secure the ground sheet, and I had no problems with 7 of those. The one I had to relocate, but it was surprisingly easy to put it in considering how many stones there are here. Another one of the really cool things about these campsites is that you get wildlife walking through the campsite. So we've seen a couple of nyala the last time we were here that walked straight through the campsite. They didn't seem to mind us very much. Those are the only large-ish herbivores that we saw very close to the camp. Sometimes you can see some a bit off in the distance. Most of the campsites are private campsites where you have your own facilities. There is, however, one, call it open public campsite as well, that's maybe not as well equipped as the private campsites, but that is an option if you want to camp there. The sites are quite private, and that's one of the things that I really like about these campsites. So they're fairly well spaced apart. You cannot see your neighbors. They're probably about 50 to 100 meters away from you, maybe less than that, but I'd say about 50 meters at least. You can't see them, you can hear them when the wind is blowing in the right direction, but it is very, very private because the bush is really thick around the campsite. So these campsites are relatively large. I would say it's about 30 to 40 meters in diameter, with another little section where you can go and park your car as well, or park your cars if you are multiple people. So what kind of camper would enjoy Waterberg Wilderness Reserve? I think if you're into off-grid camping, it would be fantastic for you. Like I said, it's not entirely off-grid. There is no electricity and there's no cell phone signal, which for me is fantastic. I think that's probably the best middle of the road situation between off-grid camping and typical camping where it's all concreted and so on and that sort of thing. I do like it that it's very separated from the other campsites, so if that's your thing and you like a bit of solitude, then I think it's really great from that point of view. It's great that the campsite is just a 3-hour drive from Joburg, so if you leave on a Friday afternoon, for example, if you have that luxury, you need to get here before 6 p.m. So that's a nice feature as well of the place. Going back to Joburg, especially on a Sunday, the traffic's quite hectic on the N1 South, so I definitely recommend that you try and leave a bit early to avoid that mad rush, especially at the end of the month or over a long weekend. Important things to bring with you when you come to Waterberg Wilderness Nature Reserve if you're camping. You've got to bring your own water. There's no electricity, so you've got to bring your own lighting, etc. They do not provide firewood, so you must bring your own firewood and sufficient amounts of it. There isn't a shop on the site, so make sure that you're stocked up on all the stuff you need before you get here. Obviously, you've got to bring your own food as well. What kind of vehicle do you need to come to this area? I think a 4x4 is great. A 4x4 is ideal because there are a number of 4x4 tracks on the site. So if you don't have a 4x4, you're probably going to miss out on some of that. If you don't have a 4x4, you need a vehicle with decent clearance, and that's really important because it is quite rocky, and in particular the road to get to Waterberg Wilderness Nature Reserve runs through a set of farms, and in some of those areas the road is quite rutted and it's quite rocky and you do need clearance. So would I recommend Waterberg Wilderness Nature Reserve to come camping or to view wildlife or to get away and do hiking, all of that stuff? It's a definite yes. It's really nicely put together, nicely thought out how the campsites are put together. There's a lot of, like I've said previously, solitude and a feeling of separation of the campsites. And I think it's a nice touch that the owner will come around and look to check that everything's okay and make sure that things are in working order and so on. I definitely will recommend this spot. I think we're going to be back here many times, and I think that, you know, over time it'll get more popular. Probably there aren't a lot of people that know about it right now, but maybe a few more after seeing this video. But this is a really great campsite, and I definitely recommend it. No reservations.
Check out my other video on the Waterberg Wilderness Nature Reserve itself. That's quite informative if you haven't seen that already. If you found this episode informative, hit the like button, please subscribe and leave a comment below if you'd like to learn something or if you've got a question. I'd love to hear from you.